February 1958. Deep in the frozen mountains of the Soviet Union, 9 experienced hikers began a journey that they believed would be another successful expedition. They were young, strong, highly trained, but weeks later, rescuers would discover something deeply disturbing. Their tent had been cut open from the inside. Their bodies were scattered across the snow, some were barefoot, in temperatures below minus 30 degrees Celsius. And some had injuries so strange that investigators could not explain them. This is the story of one of the most chilling mysteries in modern history, the Dyatlov Pass incident. The group was led by a 23-year-old engineering student named Igor Dyatlov. Their goal was to cross the remote Ural Mountains during one of the harshest winters imaginable. This wasn't an ordinary hike. In the Soviet Union, mountain expeditions were ranked by difficulty, and this journey was classified as a category 3rd, the highest level possible. But these hikers were not beginners. Every member of the group was experienced. They carried skis, cameras, journals, and carefully planned supplies. And throughout their journey, they documented everything: photographs, notes, diary entries. At first, everything seemed completely normal, but that would soon change. On February 1st, the hikers made a difficult decision. Instead of continuing through the forest below, they camped directly on the slope of a mountain. The mountain was called Kholat Sikhel, in the language of the local Mansi people. Its name means Mountain of the Dead. That night, something happened. Something so terrifying that the hikers cut their way out of their tent and ran into the darkness. They didn't take their boots. They didn't take their coats. They didn't even take their supplies. They simply ran into a freezing storm in the middle of the night. When the hikers failed to return home, search teams were sent into the mountains. Days later, rescuers found the campsite. What they discovered shocked everyone. The tent was still standing, but it had been cut open from the inside. Inside the tent were their boots, their jackets, their food, everything they would have needed to survive. Outside the tent, investigators saw something even stranger: footprints. 9 sets of footprints leading away from the camp toward the forest, and most of them were barefoot. The first bodies were discovered near the edge of a forest. 2 hikers lying beside the remains of a small fire. They were wearing only thin underwear, in temperatures that could freeze a person to death in minutes. Nearby trees had broken branches nearly 5 meters above the ground, as if someone had climbed them in desperation. Days later, 3 more bodies were found. One of them was Igor Dyatlov. He appeared to be crawling back toward the tent, as if he was trying to return, but he never made it. months later, the remaining 4 hikers were finally found, buried deep under the snow, and their injuries shocked investigators. One victim had a crushed chest, another had a fractured skull. The force required to cause these injuries was compared to a car crash. But strangely, there were almost no external wounds. Even more disturbing, one victim was missing their tongue, another was missing their eyes, and traces of radiation were found on some of their clothing. For more than 60 years, investigators, scientists, and historians have tried to solve the mystery. Some believe the hikers were caught in a sudden avalanche. Others suggest secret Soviet military experiments. And some theories are far more mysterious. Perhaps the hikers saw something they were never meant to see. 9 hikers entered the mountains. None of them returned. And to this day, the question remains, what really happened on the mountain of the